welcome. You are listening to Clearing a Path to Your Health with Caroline. And I am so excited with the guest we have on with us today is the one and only Katt Casbar from One Two Listen. Welcome to you today, Katt.
Hello, Miss Caroline. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to have you on. I just think this is going to be like really fabulous. So let me just introduce everybody to you. So Katt is a lifelong psychic, empath, studier, astrologer and healer, and someone who has been in service to humanity and has dedicated her life to helping others. She does this with such care and compassion and most often with a bit of a giggle. And I consider myself very privileged to be able to call her a dear friend. So wow, every time I read your bio, I think, gosh, you've worked really hard on yourself and your skills. And just introduce yourself a little bit to my listeners and let them know who you are.
Hello, everyone. And Caroline, too, I have so much respect for you and your work as well. And I just want to put it out there. I started, I guess, a little bit on the early side when I was 6 years old. And then in a church, I was listening to the priest in a Catholic church speak, and the long and short of it is, I felt like he was preaching against judgment, but judging others for not letting them in the church if they weren't a certain way. And so I recognized that, and I thought, well, that's not very loving, what God wants. And then a few years later, I had a vision of my kitchen being on fire from a distance, and I smelled smoke, and I had to literally get sick on my teacher's desk to go and call home, and sure enough, that was true. And then one thing led to another. I was very blessed with early teachers. Teachers would appear one after the other for many decades, and I had there were a lot of great, amazing teachers in my life over time and still are today. So I feel like the more I learn, the more we learn. When they say, I hate the word power, but knowledge is empowering and no one can take it away. So I've always studied, year after year. You never stop learning. So I believe when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and when the teacher is ready, the student appears. So it's been a road. I've been with One Two Listen now, and the One Two family for 12. What year are we? Yeah, this is my 12th year. So we're coming in. We're coming into a really. Being here now is such a blessing and always has been. And I've slowed down a little bit, speaking of healing, because I think as empaths, and you know this as well, we do need to take time out. We do need to work on ourselves more. And over time, as we serve others, it's challenging to get back to that. So I finally did over the horizon, so to speak, after 50 years of age, I decided to take a little downtime. So I'm enjoying my work very selectively. I'm excited to get into a little more healing work, as you know, and to definitely take on some new responsibilities with more levels, I think, of working with people. And so I know, I had been Psychic Katt for so many years. And of course, there's a piece of me that is Psychic Katt always. But I really wanted to branch out a little bit. So I'm in the process of rebranding and really feeling good about that. So we can welcome, people all around the world, at some point in a very, very different way. So that's where I'm at. And thanks for having me today. I love talking to you.
It's always a pleasure, sweetheart. So it's really funny, as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, I had a really early brush with my psychic abilities. I don't know if I told you this, but I was standing in a church and I was about 3 or 4. And I said to the woman in front of me, your husband's going to die next week. Now, you can imagine a 3 or 4. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't understand death. But I got so thumped. You do not say things like that. In a church, my mum was furious. And so I never really looked at it, and I knew it was scary to say what you got. And it was, I was so aware that what I was seeing, exactly what you were saying, I never liked going to church because it felt so false to me. And so many things in my life. And it wasn't until I was like 30 odd, I went to a psychic group because my friend wanted someone to hold his hand. So I did. And I sat down, I was like, oh, I can do this. This is really fun. But I think rather than do it your way, which is study, 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 what I've done is like heal, heal, heal. I've had one of those lives where I just feel like I've been healing my trauma and my family trauma and my past life traumas and everybody's trauma. And I've got to where I am today. And I think, I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but it feels to me like the amount of pain I've been in is what now enables me to help other people. So I'm very grateful for it, even though next time I want to come back as a nice little princess in a castle who has no worries at all.
Too late. Too late for that. No, I really believe that as a healer yourself,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you concur, we have to, somebody said to me, well, didn't you know, this is in regards to a previous relationship I had years ago, didn't you know he was going to do this or that? Or, what people don't understand is if we don't really have a habit of looking at ourselves as much as we look, to the rest of the world that needs our help. So it's like physician, heal thyself, or perhaps the shoemaker's kids not having any shoes on their feet, So I went through that experience and those lessons, and I think that the more we learn on our paths, our journeys are never easy because we have to put it out there to the world to really help others go through the same experiences, to make it more relatable and to make it better for the person that we're serving. So that's it in a nutshell.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we decided, lovely listeners, that we were going to do today was we were going to confront that really big topic of chronic illness. So, I've spent many years doing my healing work since 2005. Katt, like we just heard, has been doing it all her life. And we have come across many, many, many cases of people who just have what I consider to be long-term debilitating diseases. And so what I'd like to do, Katt, if it's okay with you, is just maybe look to a few of the reasons why people struggle with illness that seems like they're never going to get better. Those people. I've had a lot of people come to me. They've been around the houses. They've had blood tests and MRIs and all of this, and nobody can work out what's wrong. And then I dive in with my healing work and, up comes emotional problems or whatever. So let's take a look, Katt, if you wouldn't mind. What do you think can lead to a person to live in, long-term debilitating disease?
Well, Caroline, I have a different, I have many different opinions, obviously, because my daughter Sydney has a genetic disorder that she was born with. And if you look at the bloodline before her birth on both sides of the family, the two of the parents for cystic fibrosis have to carry the genotype that would in fact give you a 1 in 8 chance of having, or your child having, that disease. So it is a long-term chronic condition, the number one deadliest disease in children in the United States and the world. It is, I really believe, looking at the bloodline and the previous generations, every single one of their health issues or their say an early passing or transitioning, were the organs of the disease that Sydney, and I don't like to call it a disease because she's actually being cured right now. So I want to call it a condition. So genetically, she was genetically predisposed, which means through the bloodline, through the ancestors, something wasn't corrected along the way in previous generations, so she's carrying that out now. So yeah. So and I will say that the biggest event for us, of course, was late last year, November. We won a huge battle in getting her the cured drug for her illness. And I'm only using this as an example because there are so many chronic illnesses out there. And in this situation, her cure, I mean, even with, so you're talking about a chronic disease, even the cure can frighten someone to not know, being born with a chronic illness, where does my life go from here? There are so many levels affected. So you could tell that a part of her wanted to hang on to that process of the condition simply because that's how she was created.
Yeah.
And so, but I think for people with chronic illnesses of any sort, having hope in many, many circumstances, trying to find your faith, trying to really dig deep and believe in something that it can be better tomorrow is, I think, one of the biggest challenges. And for people who have chronic illnesses. So I do believe in the ancestry of our conditions. I really, really do. Genetically, we're predisposed to many things. And then, depending on, say, for something else, even if you were to look at the conditions in the bloodline going back, say, 4, 5, 6 generations, you would find something that connects the dots somewhere. So I'm a firm believer in that. Dealing with a late onset chronic condition, I think, is a whole other story, if that makes sense.
Completely. And yeah, I definitely had that down as one of the reasons I wanted to explore things that run in families and, cancer genes and outside, lots and lots and lots of what I would call chronic conditions. Then definitely you have to look to your ancestors to find out. You're absolutely right. Same with addictions, same with depression. I mean, we're definitely looking at the thing. Another thing I'd like to address, I think, for chronic conditions, not all of them, but some of them, where somebody just, you're right, I think hope is one of the biggest things that you can give someone.
Absolutely.
But without giving them false hope, of course, it's got to be something that is based in reality. But past lives for me has come up very, very often when I'm dealing with people with, diseases that nobody can understand and we don't know what's wrong with you and so on. Very often the energy from a past life where maybe you should have been learning about, let's say, guilt or shame or grief or something in a past life, and your life was terminated a little bit too early, so you didn't learn your lesson, or maybe it was just a 3-life lesson, or maybe many, many maybes with this. But very often I'll find that I'm either cutting, or removing some of the energy from a past life. The same thing really goes with culture. Some people are brought up in cultures that are not very kind, let's say, to women. That was the most polite way I could say that. So that, there's a lot of women that come to me from certain cultures that have a lot of conditioning, which is really not good for things like chronic illnesses. So there, we've looked at genetics, we've looked at past life, we've looked at culture. I was listening to Abraham Hicks this morning, and I'm not saying that this is right, but I thought I would say it just as a starting of the conversation. But she was basically saying that it's a deep lack of connection with yourself. So it's somebody who doesn't know who they are. So they're very vested in what's happening outside of them, but have no real connection to themselves. How do you feel about that, Katt?
I feel depending on the circumstances, like you said, going back to like the past lives and things like that. I feel like we're put in certain scenarios that I think some of it is, for me, it's like a mixed situation depending on the person.
Yeah.
So I really do believe that, I don't know, Caroline, I feel like everybody is so unique, that it just depends on the circumstances they're put in on, I feel, every level, whether and I feel like it can, in this lifetime, we can contain so many life lessons from our previous lifetimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Okay. And then another one that I wanted to look at, sometimes, in my experience, sometimes there's a little bit of what you touched on. It's like, who am I without this disease? I know how to be ill. I know, and I'm not in any way blaming anybody who has a long-term illness, but sometimes it's become a habit, and it can be quite difficult to re-educate yourself that you can live a full life after you've got better from. There seems to be not always, there seems to be sometimes a little bit of fear towards, well, what does that mean about me, and who am I without the disease, and all of those kind of complex issues. And that can be really challenging, because if everybody loves you and treats you this way because you're ill, how do you want them to it's a really difficult emotional subject. I know I'm not, in any way taking away from anyone who's got a huge disease, but there can be that aspect that needs to be healed, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, again, it goes back to our uniqueness and individual history, the way our circumstances are in our lives. For me, with a chronic illness, with the cystic fibrosis specifically, because that's my biggest experience, and even for working with other people who have certain situations, I have seen many, many miracles happen for no reason.
Me too.
And with having hope, or as far as hope is concerned, not to be ignorant or naive in your research, but I do seriously believe we become more of what we absorb, or we become channels or vessels for. We have the ability, I'm not saying that this is the only thing that it takes to heal, but I know for myself, when Sydney was born and diagnosed, I can remember one afternoon taking in all of this information about the disease process that she was going to experience, not even for a moment thinking, oh, there could be a cure at that time. I knew later, but I didn't know then. And this is going back, 25 years ago. And taking on information, this is like my biggest, I guess, my pet peeve. Taking on information from other sources, or public sources, or non-accurate sources, whatever it may be. The more we take in, the more we listen to the negativity, the harder it is to heal. And I really believe wholeheartedly, I never picked up another piece of information from the outside world on it again, even though I kept informed about the condition. I kept informed of what was best. I kept informed on all the positive things. I truly, truly believe her cure just came out last year, and it won't cure her 100%, but it certainly doubled her lifespan, which is more than anyone could ask for. And if I would have been spending all of those 25 years focusing on the subject, focusing on the disease process, focusing on the condition, we would have wasted 25 valuable years of our lives, I feel, in that circumstance, focusing on the negative and not the positive.
I could not agree more. And one of the things I also believe, which is a little bit speaking to this, is, we don't know what Sydney's life purpose is, but she definitely chose you as a parent. This is my belief. You don't have to agree with me. And her father as a father, for the lessons that she needs to learn. So it's very difficult as an outsider. By the way, I'm thrilled that she's getting better, or she's got double life expectancy. That's amazing. But we don't know what really she came here to learn. And some, it's really hard when a child is really ill. My nephew had massive health problems when he was growing up, and it was really challenging. But my sister is very similar to you, it seems. She was like, he's not an asthmatic, he's not going to take that drug, I don't want him on that for life, because she'd done her research outside of what they were trying to, the specialists were trying, and he's fine, he's doing really, really well now, and he's not.
There's something ignorant about that kind of, I admit it. I thought, people thought I was crazy, and I would be like, no, the cure is going to come. No, let's focus on what they're doing to correct this chromosomal disorder. Like, there is a mismatch in this DNA, and I was like, this is what's going to. And people would look at me like I was nuts, like, why are you not dealing with reality? But the reality is, there is expedient medical community, scientific community, as well as spiritual community that can overlap and I don't want to say that for every single human you need both sides of it, but I would recommend it, of course. I do believe our spiritual life is very much in touch. We are one. We are body, mind, and spirit for a reason.
Of course.
And without one piece, I don't think that we have let's say the highest ability or the most successful ability or, possibility to heal.
Yeah, and this dials into, I suppose, I did a lot of work with toxins, and because I was highly toxic, as in I had ingested lots of DDT as a child. That's just one of the many, many things. I'd had loads of vaccinations, I'd got metal teeth, the whole caboodle. And it made me really, really, really sick. And as I detoxed my body and took out the metal fillings and did all of that, of course, I was learning. So I was writing about it. And my website got shut down because I said detox is good for you. And somebody very official rang me up and said that hasn't been proven in the UK. Mm-hmm. You can make your own conclusions about what I said back to that. The point is, sometimes our chronic illnesses may be because our parents accidentally lived next to a field that was sprayed with DDT 5 times a year, and, the water was, we don't know. So I just think whatever your chronic illness is, as long as you are keeping yourself in the very best health, so that's not pizza and Diet Coke and, smoking and drinking. If you've got a chronic illness, take responsibility for what you're putting into your body, because much as you were saying about what you absorb from the outside, also what we feed our body so that it can do its job. And I think I've spoken to that in other radio shows. So let's just tell everybody how they can get in touch, because what I'm really excited about doing is in the second half of the show, when we come back from break, Katt and I are going to read somebody and see what the both of us get. And I think that's just going to be really fun to do. So if you've got anything where you're worried about a chronic health situation or just any health questions at all, pop them in the 1-2 radio chat room on Facebook. You may have to, if you're not already in, you need to ask to join, and Scott will let you in. And we'll do some readings for you after the show. Now, I just want to spend a bit of time talking about my group sessions, if that's okay. So I'm doing them every Friday, and because, some people can't afford to spend lots and lots of money, what I decided to do was a very reasonable group session where we look at one topic and I do it for the whole group. So the last 3 that I've done have been health anxiety, lack of trust in self, and poverty consciousness. And those are 3 very big sessions. So you can find those underneath my EBS, my email-based services, as well as my my health intuitive sessions. And what else do I need to say? Oh, yeah. So on Wednesday, it's my birthday. So if you call on my birthday, I will give you, I've done a meditation with Archangel Michael. I will send you a recording as a birthday present from me. So there we are. That's me. So, okay, Katt, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I'm looking for, happy birthday. That's what I want to add.
Thank you. But I told you, didn't I? John said that you and I had the same conjunct something. I can't remember. I'm not an astrologist at all. And he said, yeah, so we were really similar birth charts, you and I. That's really funny.
It is funny. Well, we're not born too far apart in June, so there you go.
Yeah, so that's it. Are you a 60? Okay, so I'm being told we're going to break. So do go across to the Facebook room and put in any questions that you may have for myself and Katt, and we will come back to you after the break.
We are so happy that you have found 1-2 Radio. If you'd like to join us in the chat room, just head over to 12radio.com, click on the chat button, and just like that, you'll be redirected into our Facebook chat room. It's magic!
Hello there, this is Barbara C. I'm a psychic advisor at 12listen.com. If you're in need of some positive spiritual guidance, help, advice, or an uplifting of any kind, please give me a call for some very quick, no-nonsense answers on any subject, from love and romance to money or prosperity, and even to which color car to buy. I'm a healer, I use tarot, and I can connect with your guides and angels, and I can also communicate with animals. So, I look forward to speaking with you. This is Barbara C. Talk to you soon.
This is Jim Komar from Pathways to Consciousness and Healing. I have this show on 12 Radio where I talk about various topics and subjects. Join me every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time for Pathways to Consciousness and Healing, for a different way of looking at life and the world around you. That's 12 Radio, changing the way you listen to the world.
Hey everybody, this is Robert Underwood. I have a show on Tuesdays called Living the Good Life. It's at 12 o'clock Pacific Time. During this time of uncertainty, I wanted to share with you my favorite quote. It always inspires me. It's from Goethe. It goes like this: "Whatever you can do or think you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it."
Hey, Isabel here from Want to Listen. I wanted to wish you an enlightening summer. As we are shedding deeply embedded patterns on a global scale, remember that our souls chose to be here during this time. And if you need guidance, uplifting, or empowering words, you can reach out to me or any of our Want to Listen advisors. A few new ones joined us recently, so give them a try. We offer numerous services and classes, and you can always connect with us on Want to Radio or Want to Listen and Want to Academy. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I'm an angel intuitive and a health intuitive, and I've been working with people to help them release the issues that are making them ill since 2005. I find that often people are unaware of why they are ill. Since I've been working on 12 Listen, I've had clients call and ask me about their health issues, which of course I'm happy to help them with. But if you're interested in removing these blocks, then you're welcome to look at my email-based healing sessions, and this is where the real changes can be made. I'm not a doctor, nor am I qualified to diagnose or discuss your medicines, but I can help to alleviate some of the symptoms by helping your body to recalibrate or realign and work out for itself how to heal. I can work on individuals, on families, on groups of people, on businesses, and on animals. If you're wondering why you are not feeling 100% or you're stuck in a pattern and do not seem to be able to move forward, can I suggest that you take a look at what I'm offering and let's find a way to help you move forward together. Look for Caroline N on 12listen.com, and I very much look forward to working with you and helping you to move forward.
Hi, are you looking to connect with the universe and angels? Do you dream of a life with less stress? Do you want to discover how connecting with the universe and angels on a daily basis can help your life to flow more easily? If you're looking for a way to navigate these uncertain times, give me a call on 12listen.com. This is Keisha Angel, professional psychic advisor from 12listen.com. I look forward to speaking with you and supporting you on your journey.
and welcome back to Clearing a Path to Your Health with Caroline. And today's guest with me, if you hadn't listened to the first half, is Kathleen Casbar, who is a fantastic intuitive and a fellow 1-2 listener. And we are going to read people's issues in the chat room. So I can see that we have 2 here from Mac and Sandra, and then Karen has just come in. So why don't you look at Mac and see what you get on Mac, Kat, and I'll tune into her as well.
I am going to take a look. Caroline, I'm trying to get the chat room back. So let me take a look.
Do you want me to read it to you?
I have it. I have chronic inflammation and joint pain for a while. With Caroline's help, I was pain-free. It seems to have come back, but it's different. It's popping up in areas it never did before, and the pain feels different. What is happening? So I do believe over time, not only do we go through, I don't like to use the word remission, but for a lack of better words here, I do believe depending on the amount of stress that you're having, or depending on certain circumstances, things you're putting into your body, I do believe that inflammation, and joint pain, no matter where it is in your body, eventually, if there is overuse of a certain area where there wasn't before when you were originally with symptomatic, I feel like there are other things going on as far as stress and perhaps overuse of a certain part. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but I am. And I do believe there is something natural. Of course, we're not permitted to diagnose. We're not doctors, but I do believe that there is something natural for you that you can take in a multi-supplement, holistic and natural, that can truly help you. Because I do see a lot of inflammation and color when I just look under just even in the first, second layer of your body, I could tell that there's a little bit of swelling. And I also feel, for some reason, I don't know why, but I feel like your thumb, there's something about a thumb that is almost like your indicator, or can be your indicator moving forward of, so my vision is that you are, not only can you recuperate through, I'm sure you're seeing, Caroline, that to work with your opening your mind, healing your spirit, that kind of thing. There's also meditations that you can do that would really help you relax. I feel like you have, sometimes when we have chronic illness, we tend to tighten. We tend to want to guard ourselves, or perhaps focus so much on our pain that it even becomes worse. How the body, mind, and spirit are connected. It's a very, very true statement. And for yourself, I do feel some kind of natural anti-inflammatory, and also your thumb. There's something about your thumb coming into my head that I could see almost. It's an indicator for you whether you're feeling positive or not. And I do see. There's something you're ingesting also that can contribute to that inflammation. So I would say nutrition, great nutrition plan, something definitely removing some other toxins in your body that perhaps you have an allergy to, or they're just causing more inflammation, and that's really going to be the brunt of it. I do feel like you're going to get it under control. I do not think, even right now as we speak, I feel like there's action coming up being taken here soon. And a revisit of what you're absorbing and what you're omitting. So I definitely feel this is all coming. And I'm going to say by the 3rd week of July, you're going to start feeling a lot better. But go ahead and look for that supplement. I feel there's a supplement out there that can really help you.
I love that, Kat. And you know what's really funny? My right thumb is really hurting the whole time you were talking. It's and I was thinking you were kind of hitching was what I was getting, when you just put your thumb out and hitch a ride. Yeah. I know she has a really clean diet, but maybe within that clean diet, she's gone plant-based and everything. But now what I'm feeling as I look at the words that you're saying to me, it's So we dealt with the really deep stuff, and now this is like different stuff coming up to heal because we've taken out the big stuff, as it were, because it does feel like we've done a lot of really deep work. But I feel that this is different because, if you like, it feels lighter stuff that we have to shift. We still have to shift it, and maybe that's why it's in different places. I don't know that that's necessarily perfectly true, but that's how it feels to me. So I'm going to say that one. But thank you so much for giving us a question. I really appreciate that, Mac. Loads of love to you. And now can we look to Sandra? Are you able to read them, Katt?
Sandra says, I have chronic pain in my left wrist. Recently, it's been waking me up in the night, throbbing with pain. What can I do to reduce it, if not eliminate this pain? Well, I would first say reduction. I think the way you sleep, obviously. I feel like this is, on the surface, we could say how we can reduce the symptoms, I would say. I do believe the way you sleep, and there's something about your pillow also. Because a lot of wrist, there are, the classic diagnoses for wrist pain at night or even wrist pain during the day. I believe for you, because I can't diagnose you by law, I can tell you that you need, if you had they make those light, soft braces, I think that would help you, even if you wore it in the day and didn't want to wear it at night. But I feel that. I think it would help you tremendously to stabilize that wrist. But there's something about the way you're sleeping. I feel that also. And I feel a little bit of a pinch in the nerve. So that it feels like a tweak, some kind of twist. I don't know. Even from, your neck, make sure all of that is in order. And I also, once you stabilize, I think there are exercises that you can do to really take the pain, to limit the pain that's residing. And I definitely feel for you, sleep, your sleep style, I think pillow, I think stabilization of the wrist. And of course, I always tell everyone to see a physician as well. And I'm sure, Caroline, you've worked with her. And have you worked with Sandra, Caroline?
I have, yes.
Okay, so and I would continue, because I do believe when we I call it flushing, when we flush on certain levels and we clear or we cleanse, I do believe our spirit has to be, really one of the major things to take care of, because that's how we manage in real time in our physical lives. That's how we really manage our pain in a better way. Not saying we can totally remove it spiritually, but we can certainly take it down and reduce our symptoms, and just the way our minds, are also connected, and the way we think. And I do feel something going on there. So it feels heated to me and nerve pinch. So I would definitely see someone about that in the medical community as well. And of course, continue to work on your spirit and that type of thing.
So I'm just going to say what I can see, which I haven't seen before when I'm working with you, but I can see, I don't know what you call them. They're medieval, and they're like, I've seen them around the neck, but I've never seen them around the wrist. They're like a chattel. I don't know the word for it. It goes round and it's really tight around your wrist. And I'm feeling very much like a really corrupt religious community has stolen you. So remind me of that if we ever do when we do our next session. But also it feels like it's pulling you back towards your family as well. I don't know what I'm saying here, but it feels like you're being pulled back towards your mother for some reason, almost like she had, those trainers you put on toddlers and so they don't run away. It's like a brace, whatever you call it. I don't know. Yeah, I think they're called trainers. I feel like your mum's perhaps asking you to give her some attention or something. So maybe, I can't remember if your mother's still with us. I'm sorry about that. But maybe have a chat with her and just see what it is she wants from you. But also we need to remove that thing, I can't think of the word, the metal contraption that's trapping your nerve. That's exactly what I'm thinking for that one. So I hope that helps, Sandra, and thanks so much for that, Katt. That was really useful. And let's move on with love to Karen. So hi, Katt and Caroline. I have never had a weight problem. In fact, I used to be too skinny. This is my story completely. Now I seem to put on weight in an instant. Is there anything I can do? Thank you. So I'll ask Katt first to see what she gets, and then we'll see if I get anything too. Over to you.
I definitely feel, well, first of all, stress, cortisol. I feel some hormones. I definitely feel we change over time hormonally. And I do feel if there was, to me, with you, it feels like a big life circumstance or life change. Something, two different things, something that has changed that brought stress. And of course, we're dealing with these global issues that are really, really trying on our physical bodies and definitely slowing us down in so many ways. I feel there's a little bit of that. And also there's I would say, hormonal changes as well. But there's something, I just want to pull a few cards for you, Karen, because I want to make sure that my mind is going towards something of stress first. But I do want to make sure that there isn't anything underlying, because I do feel hormones, and I actually feel like there's a combination of two different things going on. And I think when we become fearful or afraid, these things can definitely change. I would say that I want to advise to see a physician, because I do feel like there are things there that can help you in that realm. And of course, working with Caroline, if you're, continue to do the work that you've done to help. But I want to advise a physician for some blood work and things like that, because I do think there's something going on that can really be corrected easily with the proper treatment and medication. I just think that. And I see that you're in, there's a bit of fear or a bit of angst. No woman, none of us, if we were thin, want to, come to that place where all of a sudden we can't lose without really having a reason. And I feel your frustration about it. So I would definitely, I'm just going to stick with what I'm saying. And it feels like you're hanging on to something. I definitely feel that. There's something about, I want to say your past and something that you're hanging on. It's just like cortisol, the stress in your body. So go ahead, and good luck, honey. Big hugs to you.
So for me, what happened to me, I was super skinny. I had my dad's metabolism, and then in the year 2000, I got diagnosed with a thyroid issue, which came on, as it does with many other women, after a huge shock, i.e. my father's death. Your shock doesn't have to be that dramatic. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. But anyway, the point is, so for a lot of women who have underlying thyroid issues, and a lot of women do have underlying thyroid issues, I think they're saying it's the most undiagnosed issue in females and starting to be in males, which is interesting. Anyway, so your thyroid obviously regulates your hormones, your temperature, and your weight gain and loss. So I'm not saying that you have a thyroid issue, but what I am getting with you, which kind of suggests that it might be worth looking with a physician to have blood tests to see if there is a problem there, is I'm feeling like you're not telling your truth. That's what's coming through to me. It feels like you're saying what you need to say. I almost want to say to keep your job or to keep the peace, but it's in contrast or conflict to what you actually feel. So I'm feeling a sense of conflict with you because you're not able to say it's black. You have to say it's white, for example. That was a really bad example, but you know what I mean? You can't say what you think because you need to keep the peace. That's what I'm getting for you. I hope that that's helpful, and I would suggest, like Katt says, go and maybe have a few tests. Thyroid for me is the obvious answer because that's exactly what happened to me, but I'm not saying that that's what you've got. So sending you lots of love, and do let us know how that lands with you. And okay, so Katt, if you would like to have a look at Maddie.
She says, I have vitiligo with no family history of autoimmune conditions or any skin conditions. Do you have any feelings on why this might be happening? Anything you would to help my skin return to what? Okay. Maddie, I do believe that this is one of those things where you look back in the generations. I do suspect that that's why, of course, when we definitely choose the families we're born into, but we don't like to choose these things. And unfortunately, I do believe that's what happens or what occurs. At the same time, I think stress, I think psychological stress, I feel they have a lot of treatments now that can be done, but she's saying anything you would feel for her skin to return. Let me just take a look. Of course, you do need to be treated, and I do feel they have something new, and I'm going to predict something that I'm going off the limb here, but I can't help it. I have to be careful because this is medical and I am not a physician, but I do believe they're going to have a treatment for this that is so much better than they've ever had. And I don't think you'll know about it until March of next year, but that's something to look forward to. So I feel strong enough that I could say it, and please come back and share because we want to know that you're doing well. And I do feel in the meantime, emotions, keeping your emotions. I know it's so hard because when we're dealing with this, there's so many levels of what's affected, I believe, out of fear of, is it going to get worse? Is it not going to get worse? Can I maintain it? Can I treat it? And I'm sure there are things out there that can help you in that regard. So I'm sensing that by March of next year, this will be a very managed condition for you. And I also feel, believe it or not, I think exercise is also very, very positive. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel like it keeps you cleansed. It keeps you, it's almost like a filter. It's a natural filter for your body. And I hope that helps. And good luck, Maddie. Thank you. Go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, so I've just done one session with Maddie, and because of what came up in the session, I don't really want to talk to that because I don't think that's fair on Maddie. But I will say for anyone listening, skin is the very last resort for the body to say. So if you have any skin conditions whatsoever, well, not any, but most skin conditions are the body saying, listen to me. So it might be that you've been trying to express fear or anger or grief or shame. And finally, when it starts happening in your skin, you've either got real problems with your liver because the skin and the liver are really connected, or it's your body shouting, listen to me. And it might be that you're working too hard, or you drink too much Diet Pepsi, or whatever it is you're doing. So we do know when we work with skin conditions that we're dealing with a really shouty body, i.e. a body that's been trying to get your attention for a long, long time. So often with skin conditions, we're dealing with things that may go back to childhood, for example, or like Katt says, you're the latest in a very long line in the family, etc. So, Maddie, I didn't want to say what came up in your session because that didn't feel very professional. So I'm just going to leave that with you, send you lots of love, and I look forward to working with you. But I really appreciate what Katt just said because that felt really good, and we can get you ready for March next year. So I'm really happy about that. Okay, so Catherine Hickey, thank you for commenting, and would welcome any guidance around a clicking jaw on the left side when eating. So I'm going to take this one to start with just to say that clicking jaw is called the TMJ. So I can't for the life of me think what that means. But very often in my sessions, I find that people who have real tension around their TMJ, some people hold tension in their necks, in their backs. But when it's in the TMJ, which is that literally the bracket of the jaw, it's to do with stress, high levels of cortisol, someone who's pushing themselves quite hard, I would say. And the fact that yours is clicking suggests that we need to relax that jaw. And to me, what I would probably aim to do in a session would be to help you to be less stressed. So that's my take on that. Katt, what about you?
Well, I'm going to cheat because I have a history in this profession. So I did work. It's temporomandibular joints. You know, it sounds TMJ, temporomandibular joint issues.
That's the one.
Yeah, well, I'm only sharing because you said, what is that TMJ? But I know, and we all know it, but if you weren't around it, I was around it for years. So I will say this, that a lot of course, your healing work would help anyone. But at the same time, day to day, I do believe you should see a professional, Catherine. As we get a little older, what we do, we grind at night. And one of the major causes of TMJ is night grinding, and a little night guard is suggested, but I highly suggest you see a professional first. In the dental community, there are TMJ specialists out there, because if you're clicking, born in 71, you're right about that time when I see that you're right about that stage of life where all of our stresses, our dream time, our if we're not getting proper REM sleep, all of these things we tend to grind. And believe it or not, I saw this in females a lot more than males. So if I were you, I would definitely think about a night guard. It's very easy. I'm not going to, of course, diagnose, but the clicking in the jaw is a dead giveaway. So I definitely would have see somebody about, because like Caroline said, reducing, relaxing. Of course, the healing work is great. At the same time, the more, I think, the older, because what happens is we wind up, when we're protecting that jaw, we wind up with quite an overbite as we get older that we didn't plan on, and then everything goes to. So I would definitely get it, see someone and have a night guard made, or I know they have over-the-counter ones now. So just be careful and get a professional's opinion first. And good luck, honey. Big hugs.
Yeah, and I've never heard of a TMJ specialist. I quite like the sound of that. I don't think we're a little bit different in the UK, like say 50 years behind you, but we're catching up. Anyway, so yeah, best of luck with that, Catherine, and I really hope that helps. And then I see we have time for a really quick one with Amy. So Amy, thank you for commenting. Hello to you. Anything on my back? Can I just say, as I tuned into you, the bottom of my spine feels out of place. Like I have to wiggle my bottom in my chair to even feel like my back is aligned. So back is very much about support. If it's at the bottom, it's usually financial. If it's at the top, it's responsibility. But what I'm getting, it feels like you've been compensating, and I'm not sure what happened, if something happened earlier in your life, but it just feels like everything just... What I'm getting is a picture of a puppet. I don't know if you ever used to play with puppets. We did all the time. But when they all got really natty, we would like lift up all the strings and shake it, and then it would come back as it should have been. And I'm getting that you need some help realigning your spine. I think that's what I'm getting. There is some muscular issues towards the bottom, but I'm feeling, like trying to feel supported in your life. That's what I'm saying. And sometimes we don't feel supported by the universe, and sometimes it's by our husband, and sometimes it's by our children. Whatever it is for you, I'm feeling get that spine realigned. That's what I would say. What about you, Katt?
I do feel that too. And I also feel like it's about support. And I think moist heat, I don't know why this is so coming through, but the muscle, I feel tension around the muscle as well. And you have to start with each of the layers, or start somewhere and then go through the layers. But I think moist heat would really help you, Amy, just to start out and then just keep moving. And as Caroline said, I totally agree with what she said on that, to be realigned. Okay.
Thank you so much. Well, I hear that we are out of time. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for coming on, Katt.
Thank you for having me. I adore you and your work. I value you as a professional in this industry, and I'm glad that we're friends. Thank you, Caroline.
I love that. Right back at you. Okay, so the next show is going to be on a word that I cannot say, so I'm going to try really hard. Cognitive dissonance. So we're hearing this term bandied a lot around in the media and stuff like that. What I want to do is, from a health point of view, when you get a diagnosis you don't want to agree with, or you get told to stop smoking because it's going to kill you and you can't hear it. So we're going to look at all the ways which we deny the reality that's been presented to us. I'm hoping to get Mo, who's a fantastic Vedic astrologer, for 1-2 Listen on. I think he would be a really interesting fellow to chat with. So if I don't, we'll find out who the guest is, but I'm hoping that it will be him. But I only emailed him like about 10 minutes before this show, so that's not fair on him. So once again, I want to say, if you call in on my birthday, then I will send you a free Archangel Michael meditation. Do take a look at the group sessions and my email-based sessions. Don't forget, of course, I'm online till about 2 p.m. Pacific, because that's the time I go to bed, because I'm here in the UK. So if you want to chat with me, then you need to ring me in the morning. Anyway, listen, I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope it's been helpful. Sending out lots and lots of love. Thanks again to Katt. And I look forward to speaking to you next week. In 2 weeks' time, I'm sorry. On the 13th of July is the next show. Okay, that's me over and out.